Hi, I'm Ben Ferguson, and welcome to a special election week AMAC Weekly News. We have a lot to talk about before this election day. And first up, Joe Biden got busted lying about a major issue. Well, he didn't really lie. He told the truth during the last presidential debate about how he wants to ban fracking. And it's coming back to haunt him as the campaign's trying to undo all of this. It would also cost millions of Americans high-paying jobs. We'll tell you why this might cost him the election coming up in just a second. Also, the secret selling of our country to the highest bidder by the Biden family is all being revealed thanks to Biden's former business partner and Navy veteran Tony Bobulinksi. Bobulinski has now given an exclusive interview, and we have more on what he had to say exposing the Biden family in just a moment. And finally, we have our very own AMAC Action Senior Vice President Andy Mangione here to let AMAC members know how their actions impact the final vote on the new Supreme Court justice that we have, Judge Amy Barrett. All of that coming up in just a moment, but a quick reminder, make sure you share this video with your family and friends on social media, as social media is trying to silence many conservatives just like AMAC and our organization. So make sure you hit that share button. It is so important during this election week. Your AMAC Weekly News starts right now. When you run for president, you're supposed to tell the truth. But many times politicians, especially politicians by the name of Joe Biden, lie to the American people. That's why it was so awkward and weird at the final presidential debate where Joe Biden actually came out and told the American people his actual thoughts on oil, gas, and fracking, and how he wants to end it. Not only does he want to end it, he wants all of these high-paying jobs during a pandemic to disappear indefinitely. Take a look.
I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I would
that's
transition.
A big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
I see.
And here's the deal. But
That's
you
a
can't
big
do
statement.
That. Well, if you let me finish the statement, because it has to be replaced by renewable energy over time. And I'd stop giving to the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies.
What you just witnessed was the Vice President of the United States of America, back in the day, Joe Biden, pledging to end the oil industry, period, in the middle of a global pandemic. Biden just pledged to destroy the energy sector, costing millions and millions of Americans high-paying, quality American jobs. Literally, he looked at Americans and said, vote for me, because if you do, I'll make sure you lose everything. You'll have to change from a sector you're in to a completely new career. That's what he said to many Americans. Now, of course, the campaign knew that this was a comment, a statement, a truth that he should have never, ever, ever said. And that's why the Biden campaign went into full-blown damage control, knowing this moment in the debate could cost him the entire election. Even far left, oil-hating Kamala Harris was forced to go out and do damage control, to lie to the American people to try to clarify Joe Biden's actual statement. Take a look.
Let's be really clear about this. Joe Biden is not going to ban fracking. He is going to deal with the oil subsidies, but that's the president likes to put everything out of context. But let's be clear. What Joe was talking about was banning subsidies, but he will not ban fracking in America.
Now, the crazy thing is that's apparently all the Biden campaign thought that the American people need to hear to make this lie disappear, make it all better. Do they really think the American people are dumb enough to believe that the senator, who is more left than Bernie Sanders in her actual voting record, wants to keep fracking in America? Of course not. But they apparently think you and the American people are this dumb. Yes, they really do think that Americans would be able to look back at Biden's statements just from this campaign and somehow believe this new flip-flop. Now, luckily, we have all of those statements of Joe Biden and what he has said about fracking and ending fracking and now shutting down the entire energy sector. Take a look.
I am not banning fracking, period. But, kiddo, I want you to just take a look, okay? You don't have to agree. But I want you to look in my eyes. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate with it, okay? No more, no new fracking.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Could it get any clearer than that? This, by the way, is how unintelligent the Biden campaign thinks the American people are. And that's putting it nicely. In reality, they actually think that you are incredibly stupid, that the Democratic voter is incredibly stupid, that the American people are incredibly stupid. Yes, the Biden campaign is treating the American voters like they are total idiots. Now, thank goodness for the Biden campaign, the media is being forced to help them cover up their lie about the truth that Joe Biden told at the debate. They got to make sure this all goes away very quickly. They got to make sure the American people don't fall for the truth that Joe Biden told you. Yes, the American people were told the truth by Joe Biden. It's very clear. He wants to destroy the oil industry. He wants us to be paying $5 to $7 a gallon for gas. He wants to force you to drive a smart car or an electric scooter, all in the name of the Green New Deal that's still up on his website. We are almost to Election Day. And it's our job to hold Joe Biden and Kamala Harris accountable for their actual policies. And their policy is clear. It is a policy to kill American jobs by the millions. It's a policy that will cost Americans millions of dollars at the pump. I'm pretty sure most Americans want to make sure that we as a nation are energy independent. And it's our job to make sure that we hold them accountable for what they want to do to this country on Election Day. In a major Tuesday night interview with Tucker Carlson, former Hunter Biden business associate Tony Bobulinksi, did something that was pretty amazing. Told the truth about the Biden family, and it should have resulted in a firestorm from the mainstream media about the corruption of the Biden family. Instead, we are hearing crickets, nothing. ABC, NBC, and CBS on their big morning shows that's supposed to cover all the news didn't even discuss it or touch the story. It's an absolute disgrace and honestly, at this point, almost criminal. Now, Joe Biden has said over and over again that his son Hunter and his brother did nothing wrong. And he said that he has never discussed business with Hunter Biden or his brother about any of their business dealings. Yes, he said he never talked about their businesses, period. Here is just one recent moment of Biden telling the story of lies to the American people.
There's not been one scintilla of evidence that my son ever interfered, that I ever asked me anything, that I ever got involved in anything.
Great story, Joe Biden. The problem is we now have legitimate sources with legitimate documentation that prove that you were, in fact, a part of a whole lot of these corrupt business dealings around the world, specifically with your son and your brother. What is also exposed is that Biden was a part of selling access to the White House when he was the vice president, selling access to the highest bidder. And it did not matter if you were a communist from China or from Russia or anyone else who wanted to purchase access, regardless of what nation you were from. They were willing to take your money, and they were willing to give you a seat at the table with the sitting Vice President of the United States of America, Joe Biden. Now, here's what Bobulinski had to say about all of this during the sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson.
The former vice president has said he had no knowledge whatsoever of his son's business dealings and was not involved in them at all. But this sounds like direct involvement in them.
Yeah, that's a blatant lie. When he states that, that is a blatant lie. Obviously, the world's aware that I attended the debate last Thursday, and in that debate, he made a specific statement around questions around this from the president. And I'll be honest with you, I almost stood up and screamed liar and walked out because I was shocked that after 4 days or 5 days that they prepped for this, that the Biden family is taking that position to the world. And once again, I'm irrelevant in this discussion. I just was brought in to run this company and have been exposed to all of this fact. And I believe the American people should see this fact. I would have much preferred the Biden family go on record and define these facts for the American people and the globe versus me sitting here having a discussion with you on it.
Joe Biden can lie all he wants, and he's obviously doing a lot of it right now, but the truth is coming out far faster than he ever expected. Thank you, Hunter Biden, for leaving those laptops at a repair center and never picking them up. In fact, we also just had new leaked audio of Hunter Biden discussing both his father and his China ties in a phone message on his computer. I want you to take a listen to Hunter Biden describing these business deals and his father and a criminal investigation. Take a look.
I get calls from my father to tell me that the New York Times is calling, but my old partner, Eric, who literally has done me harm for I don't know how long, is the one taking the calls because my father will not stop sending the calls to Eric. I have another New York Times reporter calling about my representation of literally, Dr. Patrick Koh, the spy chief of China.
This just keeps getting worse and worse, and Joe keeps lying about it, and the media continues to not cover it. I want you to think about what the media would do if 1/100th or even 1/1000th of this happened to one of the Trump children. All of the Trumps would already be in prison, and we would have watched them being arrested live in a big FBI raid on TV in the middle of the night. What we're witnessing right now is clearly criminal, and the fact that the mainstream media refuses to cover this is even more criminal. If you want to know how the Bidens believe they would get away with all of this, Bobulinski has an answer for that as well.
I'm thinking about the Biden family, like, how are they doing this? I know Joe decided not to run in 2016, but what if he ran in the future? Aren't they taking political risk or headline risk? And I remember looking at Jim Biden and saying, how are you guys getting away with this? Like, aren't you concerned? And he looked at me and he laughed a little bit and said, plausible deniability.
For almost 40 years, Joe Biden has been doing what you just heard about. And the family has been doing it for so long, they knew exactly what to say if they ever got caught. Just say, we've got plausible deniability. That's how they think they're always going to get away with this. Now, luckily, we have a voice and an extremely important vote in just days. We need to make sure that we get out to vote and make sure that the Biden criminal family never steps foot into the White House ever again. Obviously, we are just days away from the presidential election, and everybody seems to be focusing, as they should, on Hunter Biden's laptop and emails and fracking. But there was a massive victory that happened this past week, and it does not need to be overlooked. It is a campaign promise that Donald Trump made to the voters, to the American people, and that was to put conservative constitutionalists on the Supreme Court. And Judge Amy Barrett is now sitting on the Supreme Court. Joining me now to talk about a very close vote and the impact that AMAC members had is the AMAC Senior Vice President of AMAC Action, Andy Mangione. Andy, I appreciate you coming on. For the first time, we actually saw liberals upset about the idea of having a woman, a strong woman, get a job on the Supreme Court. And I thought feminists were supposed to love this moment, but they were not happy. This was a woman that was qualified for this position, yet the left kept pushing back, and they kept saying she's going to destroy this nation. And there were some Republicans that were waffling big time on this. Luckily, AMAC Action had a huge campaign to make sure that pressure stayed on several senators, that they would do the right thing and confirm her to the Supreme Court. Talk about this success.
I'm glad to, Ben. AMAC members were very involved in letting their voices be heard in support of Justice Barrett's confirmation. They made thousands and thousands of contacts with key senators, and Ben, dare I say, they were instrumental in persuading Senator Romney and Senator Murkowski to vote to confirm Justice Barrett.
You know, both of those senators, Romney and Murkowski, it was a flip a coin what they were going to do here, because I think they love sticking it to the president, to be honest with you, and they were one of those that you sat there and you go, okay, what are they going to do? Obviously, the impact and the organization of conservatives through you guys at AMAC Action, taking the 2.3 million AMAC members and saying, we're going to focus our resources, our time, our energy, our email campaign on having members directly contact these senators clearly had an impact on their vote.
Without question, we mobilized. This was a call to action that was very well received by the membership. And Ben, for $16 to join AMAC, you can get your voice heard in the halls of Congress.
You talk about what AMAC Action does, and many people, I don't think, realize all throughout the year what we are doing. We are in Washington. We are talking to these members. We are sitting down with them. We are using the number as a group. This AMAC group, which gives every member even more power because they're not standing by themselves any longer. We get to walk into these senators' office and say, you better listen to us. We have 2.3 million conservatives that are standing together, that are fighting and want you to vote the right way on Judge Barrett. And that's what we were able to do this week.
That's exactly what happened. We convinced Senator Murkowski, who made her decision to support Justice Barrett the weekend before the vote, to go ahead and confirm her. And that was the difference. It was a 52-48 vote, and Romney and Senator Murkowski were the difference.
I tell people all the time when they ask me about AMAC, what's the most important part of it? AMAC Action, I think, is the most important part when it comes to advocacy, because this is how you play the game in Washington. If you don't have numbers, if you don't organize as a group, and the left has done an amazing job of doing this, AARP is a perfect example of that. They walk in with a very big stick to meet with congressmen and senators, and when they lobby for certain things, because they are able to say, this is how many people we have in our organization. AMAC is now a force to be reckoned with on Capitol Hill, and there's a lot of conservatives, maybe I would say better say moderates, people that have an R next to their name but don't always act like it, who when AMAC comes to their office, they take the time now to listen to our perspective, and that is what our members need to know about.
Exactly right. There is strength in numbers, Ben. And when we walk into a congressional office, we average about 6,000 AMAC members per congressional district, and tens of thousands in each state. That gets their attention. That gets the attention of the congressman, the congresswoman, or the senator. That's why we were successful in executing this campaign with Senators Romney and Senators Murkowski. You join AMAC, we will make sure that your voice is heard in Washington.
Lastly, this is our last AMAC Weekly News before the election. And this is something that I know we need to remind our members. This election, I believe, is probably going to be extremely tight. I think there's a lot of people that are going to be watching, especially in swing states, that do not need to take their vote for granted. We need to mobilize, go out and vote, and not only vote, but talk to our family and our friends and make sure they do the same thing.
I would refer people to the AMAC magazine. We published a list of the president's accomplishments, and I guarantee you people that are familiarizing themselves with that article probably didn't hear about half of the accomplishments. Read that document, read that article, share it with your friends, share it with your neighbors, share it with people you go to church with, take them all to the polls together and vote on Tuesday.
Well, it's a big victory having Judge Barrett confirm the Supreme Court. We now have a solid conservative court now, and this is because of the members of AMAC Action, of AMAC that are fighting, and your name was there on that line saying, I stand with the president, I stand with Judge Barrett, and we got it done. Thank you, Andy, for coming on AMAC Weekly News. This is such an important election, just days away, and we really appreciate you making sure we got it done in Washington this week.
My pleasure, Ben. Thank you.
That's it for this special election edition of your AMAC Weekly News. Please make sure that your voice is heard in this election. Get out and vote, whether it's raining, whether it's sunny, whether it's snowing, wherever you are, and help your friends get out to vote as well. Check with your neighbors, check with your family, and if anyone needs a ride to the polls, make sure you take them. I'm Ben Ferguson, and I'll see you back here next week for our next episode.